Hello, everyone, and it is another day here on Splash Play drafting a team in Best Ball Mania for Underdog Fantasy's flagship tournament. You can see I am already in the waiting room on here. Just came off of the first half of the stream with my pal Pete Overzet, so make sure to check out the stream over on his channel, of course, and make sure to leave a comment to get an entry into his giveaway. You can see we got a bunch of spots here actually left available, so if you were trying to get some of that sweet streamer EV for me, feel free to hop into a draft. Underdog's Best Ball Mania, of course, $3 million to first place. And if you use the promo code SPLASH, you can double your deposit up to $100 on Underdog. Great way to build your bankroll and get some more entries in. But we are filled now, and let us see how influential I am after hitting a stream. Not influential enough, apparently. Sam Duel gets the 101. A great place to draft Baker Mayfield. I'll be drafting the 5 spot here. I'm very excited to have you guys with me here. High energy after doing the stream with Pete. So that's how I'm feeling today. And shout out to everybody hanging out in the chat. Our boy Tyler already squirting. Right? All the boys are squirting here, ready to get it going. Appreciate you guys hanging out here today. I also need to update the overlay thing. That's okay. Either way, we'll see what we get here in the middle of the draft. Just had a middle of the draft pick last time out on Pete's channel. I think built a very competent team around Diggs, Waddle, Josh Allen. Here it is going to be a different situation where I don't like taking the same players in 2 straight drafts. So hopefully I'll get something that aligns nicely here. But a lot of badges, so might have to fight off the wide receiver avalanche. We shall see. Made it in this one 111, 2 drafts in a row. There we go. So we can see, play along with Jeremy drafting in the 11 hole. Oh, Jeremy, you're the icon. I always forget that. Sometimes Jeremy does some drafts that I very much like, and sometimes Jeremy goes off the deep end. It does some weird shit. So we're going to see how Jeremy does in the 11 hole here. Let's hear all the PT. Yes, that's exactly what we're here for. I'm going to gossip about that ne'er-do-well Pete Overzet. I'm excited for Pete to have his 15,000 subs. That's what I've been looking forward to, living vicariously with that. Of course, on Splash Play, we're pushing towards 3,000 subs, which would also be nice. And I think, guys, this is a combo I'm not getting a lot of. I think this is going to be a day where we try to get some Chiefs, try to get some Travis Kelce, try to make up from all of the bags of Kadarius Toney that I have packed all off season long. That is going to be what I'm going to try to build around today. But we will see. Harder to push Patrick Mahomes further down. Last draft, I was able to get Josh Allen at, I think, 31. Mahomes, I have not seen go at 30 plus in many drafts overall. So that's a situation for me that I think might have to get Mahomes at 19 to lock him up. But we will make that decision when we get there. We'll see what everybody else gives us. Eckler going at 7, Bijan at 9. Normal room so far. Nothing too crazy for us, despite the profluence of badges here in the room. Is that a word? Hard to say. I hate drafting Kelce teams. I think it is a very uncomfortable field to draft Kelce teams. That's why, honestly, I probably need to up my exposure there. My Kelce exposure overall in Best Ball Mania is at 6%. So I would like to get to at least the field's 8%. On that one. A player that getting older, not a great thing for any player. Obviously, we talk about that a lot. The Tim Patrick thing, again, not to victory lap injuries. I hate when people do that too. But older players, just the wear and tear on the body, especially, a tight end, where the guy who's blocking on half of his time out in the field. Not the best thing for Travis Kelce over the course of a career. That said, you are always drafting for the upside. You are always drafting for the best case outcomes. And the best case out for Travis Kelce now is that all these guys are bringing in to replace the production that they had last year at receiver. Maybe they're not going to be able to do that even as well as they did last year. Kadarius Toney being hurt, not a great thing in terms of their planning. So there's still definitely reason to want Travis Kelce and to want to go there. But let's see what we can do here. So this room, normally in a badgy room, you can push your QB a little bit. And I think we're going to see if we can do that. I'm going to reach for T. Higgins here. And you guys know I love reaching for week 17 correlation, or at least getting it early and locking it up a little bit. I think people might be afraid to do that with Kelce and Higgins a little bit more than they should be. So we'll see here. I'm not expecting to get Mahomes back with this move. If I got him back, that would be great. If I don't, though, it's fine here. I got my tight end correlated with the guy who I think can be a wide receiver one, if not probably nominally the 1B on Cincinnati. Kelce feels like a brand pick to me. Interesting. If you are making your brand with Travis Kelce, I mean, the separation of elite tight end is hard to ignore. So certainly something that I would have no issue with. Do we have any hyper fragile running back builds 3 through 4? Not my preferred style of draft, Benjamin. I think this year, certainly more viable to be able to do that. It's one to me where I still think that is a very cozy way to draft for a lot of people out there. We'll see what the neighborhood does here, but my guess is he might take a third running back. For me, the whole thing is that with zero RB, especially this year, is it does feel so uncomfortable to do that. It does feel such an anathema to how the ADPs have worked out that I think people are really getting cozy with just taking 3 running backs, 2 out of 3 running backs, all of that. So for me, it's really an anchor running back max is what I'll do. In some rooms, though, I do take 2 or 3, but for the most part, I really don't love hyper fragile builds just because I think running back is such a fragile position overall, both in terms of the touch volume, how that's shifted over the last 10 years, guys getting closer and closer to averaging under 20 touches as opposed to averaging 30 touches. That's the kind of thing for me that I really don't love investing a ton of capital in running back overall. If I'm investing in running back, I'm just going to, see how it goes with one guy. But we do get Mahomes falling back. Always great to see that. Appreciate everybody in the room not colluding with me, but allowing me to get Mahomes in the 3rd round. But that's the thing too. Again, we see the badges here. I know Evan here in the 2-hole, a little bit of a wild card sometimes, but probably not a guy to take an unstacked Mahomes. So I felt like if ever there were a room to do it, this was the room to try to push Patrick Mahomes a little bit further. So I think we got a unique week 17 combo here and Mahomes and Kelsey. So I like this start. Joey, see, this feels like a piss boy room. I mean, you see all the badges here, but that's the thing though, is like piss boy rooms aren't the piss boy rooms they used to be. Like, we have the merch out there on Peach Channel with the wide receivers dripping yellow, but you could see, all these guys getting running backs, red badges. It's not just like the unsharp drafter in a room drafting running backs. And I think that's the big difference this year overall is that it is kind of more of a choose your own adventure where I believe you'll get rewarded more by going 0 RB. But there are a lot of people that believe strongly in the idea of like, hey, I can now get a true running back 1 in the 3rd round at the end of the 2nd round. That's a thing that is a decision tree you have to make. And it's going to be a unique one compared to previous years where it was so like running back dominant. If you went wide receiver, it's like you're actually making a move that could make you smarter. Here, the running backs are now kind of appropriately priced. So it's one of those things where you are making that decision, and I would try to get looks on both. Try to take some early running backs, try to take some 0 RBs, definitely try to take some extreme 0 RBs where you're taking 6 receivers through 6 or 7 rounds. That's what I would try to push towards here, is just to get off the beaten path a little bit. 3rd, Mahomes, very nice. Very rarely makes it past the chase drafter. There we go. So I am, again, I'm trying to read the room here. That is one thing that I got from Pete as a piece of wisdom, is that the elite QBs fall more in badge rooms. So that's something that I ended up working out for me here, but a lot of times doesn't work out. So you never know when you're going to get it to fall. I'm just prepared to deal with the chips falling where they may in any sort of draft. In come the season-long casuals. That is true. It is the time of year for the season-long casuals, and we love them here. We love them even more if they use the promo code SPLASH over at Underdog, but definitely a great way here to get into the fantasy football life if you want to have more than your office league. Certainly best ball is a thing that I enjoy a lot more than any redraft league I've done at any point in my life. And it's just a lot easier, like, the doing a team now and being done. This is me pitching to the season-long casuals coming in. Just not having to deal with waivers, not having to deal with thinking about this team, besides sweating it a little bit week to week and at the end of the season. That's what best ball, I think, is the joy of, is you get the joy of the draft and none of the annoying labor-intensive coal mine style work at the end. We'll see what we get in our pick coming up here. I think we can see one guy on the board I wouldn't mind, and I will absolutely take a share of Christian Watson here. 43, 2 picks after ADP for a guy who's crushing it in training camp. Boy, I don't get how Christian Watson's not getting the Calvin Ridley steam, to be honest. But that's me, obviously, the most biased Christian Watson drafter. I'm so biased, I can't even say his name correctly. In season, managing a team truly sucks the fun and joy out of you. Husk of a person like week 17. Yeah, it's that. It's, the one friend in your league who doesn't update their team. And it's like, you're giving this fucking other guy in our league this easy win. Infuriating things happen on that front. So definitely, I'm out of the season-long league world for the most part. Even the dynasty league that we have with the ship chasing guys and those various sub leagues, that's a best ball league too, which I appreciate. If you are going to keep even the same people running back and forth in a redraft league or a dynasty, like, make it best ball. Don't make people have to actually do waivers. Spags got a job at a middle school. If they offer to do a work league, how do I hide that I'm an absolute sicko? I think you lean into it, because then people go like, oh, wow, like, all this stuff about this? That's so crazy. That's so cool. Makes you more interesting. So I think I would lean into it more. Okay, so we do have the elite tight end with Kelsey, so it doesn't make sense to go Hawkinson's way here. Obviously, have a little bit of a bet on Green Bay, so let's build that out. Aaron Jones, a little bit older than I usually like my running backs, a little bit higher draft capital here. Though, you know what? We could get pretty boxed out at receiver. I'm still going to take Aaron Jones. I'm a little worried about having only 2 receivers here through 5 rounds, but we're going to try to dig out of it after this one. Do like Jones at a little bit of a discount. Jones falls enough that I maybe should have reached for a guy that I want more of. Deontay, I have my issues with, but I don't mind getting to the 8% expected ownership there. Godwin, not so much. Marquise Brown, I don't mind. JSN, I actively want to get more of, and I think maybe I should have reached for JSN there, but can't argue with making a bet on Green Bay. I love a bet on Green Bay. Definitely a team that I expect to be competent this year, and also, frankly, have a lot to prove after some acrimony with Aaron Rodgers. He wouldn't renegotiate his deal in Green Bay. Then he goes to the Jets, immediately renegotiates his deal, and frees up a lot of cap room. It was a really tense situation, I think, in Green Bay the last few years, and I think they're going to play like a team with a weight off their shoulders. So Christian Watson, Aaron Jones, that's how I'm talking myself into that one. I definitely don't lean into it. I gaslight the fuck out of my coworkers and then punish them each year. So I stack up 100 waiver moves. I know when I started at Football Outsiders parent company, we had like an office league too. And it was like everybody's very into it. And I was more like reluctant to do it. I was just doing it because I wanted to go along with the flow as like the new guy coming in with a role running things and content. And I did the league. And honestly, I felt like it demeaned me to do the league. So I could see that logic as well. But people definitely, are curious. I think it makes you a little bit of a target if they know fantasy football. But I think it's also, you want your character in an office. Like you want, like much like the show The Office, much like the documentary The Office, you want to have your in-office character, and being the fantasy football guy is like not the worst thing in the world compared to being like the degenerate alcoholic guy or something. I'd rather have them think I'm the fantasy football guy, and then they won't even know you're the degenerate alcoholic guy who's just ripping a fifth in the bathroom stalls to get through a day. You could just not join on everyone else's advice. Easy way to have something to talk about. There you go. It is like, camaraderie is nice in theory. I am certainly not a person that would have handled a return to office well, and I don't think that a fantasy league would change that too much. We're on the clock here, though. Seeing some interesting picks. I think this is one, though. Obviously, Michael Pittman getting steamed up here. Great offseason for him. Contract year for Michael Pittman. A little bit of a discount on Miles Sanders, but we are going to risk getting boxed out at receiver if we don't get some more in now. So I will take a little correlation with Jordan Addison, younger guy. Definitely not my favorite receiver pick overall. Just a guy that I think a little bit overvalued coming in because he had such a great college pedigree, was so great at Pitt, and then really was not the player that we hoped he would be at USC. But still good enough, certainly, to get drafted with high draft capital. But learning from Justin Jefferson, a positive thing. Hopefully he can usurp a lot of KJ Osborne's role. I think that's something that's looming a little bit in Minnesota, is that Osborne is a guy that's clearly liked a lot by the team. They talk a lot about it in the training camp articles in The Athletic. It's just how much KJ Osborne's been a resource for the receiver room and all that. Could be tough for Addison to get Osborne off the field in some situations. But that said, obviously, high draft capital, the thing we're looking for most. So I can put away Addison being the one USC alum that I'm not perpetually stumping for. See what else is going on in the chat. Yeah, there we go. Robert knew I was going to take Addison. See any? Oh, the neighborhood. Okay, the neighborhood recovering. This is an interesting one. So if you are going to go with the bimodal early running back here, I think the neighborhood doing a good job getting out of that, getting a lot of young guys too. Jahan Dotson, I'll point out, I've seen him go in the 90s, and I don't know why lately. I don't know if it's people just thinking that he's not as good as he may seem, whatever the case may be. Definitely a lot of FUD going around for Dotson. I'm going to take Treylon Burks here as kind of a tier break, I think, at receiver coming up. Nothing correlating here with Burks, but still a guy that has upside, even though obviously Hopkins being in Tennessee, going to not be great for him. But this feels about the range where Burks should go. Like he and Quentin Johnston, I think, kind of similar bets. George Pickens should go higher, but that's neither here nor there. Great quote from George Pickens, who I'm certainly biased towards as a guy that was great in all the advanced metrics I talk about, the EPA, estimated points added metric, as well as DVOA, but also a player that had a nice quote about how much he loves aggressively blocking, because if he's not getting the ball, he wants people to see him on the field mauling somebody. That's the kind of thing that gets you over in Pittsburgh. I think especially. You don't hear Deontay Johnson saying that one. Deontay Johnson just wants the ball so he can catch it nice and safely. George Pickens wants you to either throw him the ball, or he's going to abuse a defensive back if you don't throw him the ball. That's the kind of attitude I want for my second-year guy. Pickens is such a beast in waiting. Pickens and Watson, really, whenever I get them on the same team, I am incredibly stoked. Folks are wrong about Dotson, man. It's the truth. I like Dotson a lot. I mean, I think it could be Dotson maybe coming down because of the negative camp reports so far about both Howell and Brissett. So that's something that maybe market's responding a little bit to that. But I don't get it. I mean, Dotson showed a ceiling last year. I think McLaurin's the better receiver. McLaurin, again, being a good receiver is going to open things underneath for Dotson and give him some opportunity. And McLaurin also, for as good as he is not like a red zone, end zone target guy. Dotson flashed a little bit of that last year. So Dotson to me is a guy, if he's falling in drafts, like I really want to get him more if he's going to fall in some of those rooms. And I'm telling you, again, it's those after 10 p.m. rooms, after 9 p.m. rooms on Underdog as well, where you do get Dotson falling a little bit, including one I was doing last night. All right, we got 1141 here. Alvin Kamara doesn't make any sense for us. Pacheco falling. I can get weird and take Deneric Prince later and get Sky Moore now and get my double with the guy who's actually going to be playing for KC. I am going to get Sky Moore here. I like Pacheco. I think he's at a nice value here, but he's not far enough behind ADP for me to feel like I need to go there necessarily. Do want to get my fifth receiver in the door. 5 through 10 is always my goal, but getting that a little bit earlier, even better. And Sky is one of those guys, because I have so much Kadarius Toney, as I talked about yesterday, I still think Kadarius Toney is a wide receiver one, the guy you want to go out of your way to get. But Sky Moore is a guy that is healthy, is out there now. And I think we'll also be able to run some of those routes that Kadarius Toney has run in the past. Just those ones behind the line of scrimmage, getting into motion, being able to get into space there. So Sky is a guy to me that I want to do. I do want to up my bags here, even though his price obviously has come up a lot throughout the offseason. Michael Thomas over Burks over Toney. I like Michael Thomas too, but he is old and he is coming off of a lot of injuries. I know, again, the football Twitter doctors, not the biggest fans of Michael Thomas in that capacity, just because he's been hurt for basically 2 or 3 straight years in a row, but did look good numerically last year. So I do like Michael Thomas more than the field, but I'm already above the field on Michael Thomas, so I'm not going out of my way to get there necessarily. But great camp reports for him, apparently. He's been very involved with Derek Carr. There was one stretch I saw on the Athletic report about yesterday, and everything I'm citing for the most part is going to be Athletic. I don't really care about the fucking local TV news people and what they think. But they did mention that Michael Thomas basically was getting targeted on every single play for New Orleans. So definitely some potential there for him to be the Devontae Adams. Not that mattered that much for Derek Carr last year, but for Adams it did. So I think that's something that I'm certainly hoping to, and I think that Michael Thomas can be. We are on the clock here again. We've got our 5 receivers. No obvious correlations in immediate range here. I don't want Dalvin, I don't think. I am going to take Rashad Penny here. Yeah, I'll take Rashad Penny here. Really no issue. Penny does sometimes fall in rooms still. I don't think he should. Feels like he's going to be moving immediately towards a starting role for week 1. And Rashad Penny, a guy that I have a lot of so far this offseason. Let's see what I'm at in Best Ball Mania. 16.5%. So I'll add a little bit more into that for Rashad Penny, but I have no issue with it. I've got enough DeAndre Swift as well. I think I have almost the Fields amount of Gainwell. Yeah, I'm at 7.8% Gainwell. So to me, Penny is my favorite bet out of that backfield. Just so good in terms of what he's done when he's been able to stay on the field. Can he stay on the field? We'll find out, but I think he can. Thomas fits Carr's passing metrics perfectly. I mean, Michael Thomas has been a little more of a short A-dot guy, so I wouldn't necessarily say that. But I do think Carr wants like a big-bodied guy that can kind of bail him out of some of these spots, and then it opens it up for him to take those deep shots downfield to an Olave, to a Rashid Shaheed. So I think it's a pretty good match overall for Carr, even if like Devontae Adams was the perfect match for Carr. I think a guy who can get those PPR, easy kind of targets, but also get downfield and stretch it vertically. But I think New Orleans is really well set up for Carr, and you don't pay a guy that much money without a plan on how to use him and get the most out of him. And that's part of why, too, like I'll take some Taysom. I do think you should have Taysom Hill as part of your portfolio, but I'm not going on my way to get Taysom because I just think it's going to be harder for them to give him those, hey, here's a sneaky quarterback snap to give him because you want Carr out there. You're paying him so much money. You want him to produce relative to that. And the more you just give Taysom those kind of gimmicky reps, the more you're just giving Carr less at-bats to get the home run play, to get that ball downfield, or to get great value for Michael Thomas. So that's one to me that I'm very much team Derek Carr. And frankly, he goes cheaper than Taysom in some drafts, and I don't think that should be the case. Jameson Williams is still too high in ADP, injury/suspension. Not sure why he's that high. Maybe for upside in the playoffs. I mean, he is a guy who can take the top off of the defense. I don't mind Jameson Williams at this range. You are sort of, I don't even think you're paying a premium because he was going in the 50s before the gambling suspension stuff. The one issue is that he has played like shit at camp so far, and frankly didn't show enough last year for me to have the full sign off of faith for him. But still, I really have no issue with him. It's just, your mileage may vary. Um, all right, what are we gonna do here? We definitely need a lot more running backs still. I don't think I want to take Kirk Cousins here. I'm just going to be the guy who keeps taking Charbonnet. I mean, it's just like a shoulder injury, not great, especially for a brutal runner like Charbonnet is. But he's still got 6 weeks, 5 weeks until the season. And really, for me, now that I do have these two running backs here, Aaron Jones and Rashad Penny, I really don't need Charbonnet to be on the field and be involved until later in the year anyway. So this is the kind of build in particular where I have no issue taking Charbonnet when he falls right into your lap. But it does feel like Charbonnet is going to start to go closer to somewhere around this range, the 115 to 125 range, a little bit more. So you could probably hold that on Charbonnet, but I just want to get more running backs in. Saints running back room is a mess, just like Philly's. Just got to take a little of all of them, I guess. I mean, I still think the play is Kendre Miller. Obviously, having Kamara there, having Williams there on an okay contract, not great for Miller. But if you are trying to capture the pure ceiling at the time where you need it the most, I really think that's Kendre Miller there. But you're right that it's certainly a thing where you could play it as a probability, or you could love Kendre. You take 12 to 16% Kendre, and then you take 6 to 8% of both Kamara and Williams, and you're covering that backfield pretty well. And you'll have a quarter of your lineups dedicated to that backfield, and hopefully one of them will sort of rise up meaningfully. This is actually a build where Jerick McKinnon makes sense, but it's also one where we could maybe get Deneric Prince at the end of the draft. So that's something to think about as well. I am going to take McKinnon, though. Not my favorite player, much like Pete has talked about, but still a guy that correlates, a guy that I don't need now because of this running back room. But if he does give me spike weeks, he can be there. And I would like to get more McKinnon. I don't know that I need a crazy amount here. But I'm above the field on McKinnon. I think I was buying him when he was a little bit cheaper. But I'm at 8.7% McKinnon in Best Ball Mania. So I will add that, but now I know that officially. This is why you need the draft caddy from Brick or the Spike Week overlay tool, so you could know live here. But I'm not paying for those. I don't want it to clog up the stream when you could see me. I don't want to distract attention from all this beauty right here. Anyone else taking a decent amount of McKenzie with their AR stacks? That is the guy I would take the least of. Josh Downs Josh Downs the same price, and he's also AR's roommate, and he was a monster at UNC playing out of the slot. He wasn't quite JSN the year before last, which is the numbers that I look at for JSN. But Josh Downs is right there with JSN in terms of slot production, and McKenzie is is that, but without the college production or any pro production, at least to me. Again, everybody's takes, I'll say it all the time on this channel. Your take in July and August is going to be as valid as mine. Like, we can all say that. We'll see how the season plays out. But taking the guy with some draft capital who's rooming with the star QB and waiting, I think is always going to be a good move. The shower narrative, to quote, I think, Adam Levitan, who coined that one. Big run on running backs here. No surprise. Jamal Williams, Jalen Warren. Warren's got a pretty wide band, I feel like, of where he gets picked these days. If you're in more casual rooms, it feels like Warren falls pretty heavily because casual rooms tend to like Najee a little bit more. I've gotten Warren in the late 140s recently, which is odd for me because I have so much Jalen Warren at these various price points. I've been taking him the entire offseason. He's one of my now highest exposed players. But something to keep in mind here, that if you are somebody grabbing Warren at 120-ish, there are some rooms we're going to get him in the 140s now because people just don't. Casual drafters, I think in particular, don't like a backup, even if they have a role. They don't like those guys very much. On the clock again, nobody wants to take Kirk Cousins, huh? If you guys don't want to take Kirk Cousins, you don't have to tempt me with a good time. I'll take Kirk Cousins then. Do they have different buys? Okay, they have different buys, so we're okay on that front. Definitely more of a Jordan Love build, but I might just take both. Cousins going 18 spots. No, more than that. Going 27 spots after ADP. That's too much of a fall for Kirk Cousins. Why did he not get drafted? Oh, because Sam Duell has Fields. That's why. Okay, that makes sense. Where's the Hawkinson guy? Hawkinson guys got Allen. Okay. So that's why Kirk Cousins falls. Is the Jefferson guys got Fields, the Hawkinson guys got Allen. I'll take it. Here we go. A nice ADP value. Is it worth the howl? Is Pete still howling on his streams? I don't even feel like he's not doing that much these days. So the value hound howl may be over, but oh, all the same. It's just fun to howl. Out of all of his bits, I feel like that's the one you keep, is the one where you get to make a fun sound effect. But that's me, of course. I like to do my silly voice. There's a lot of compliments on my fake reporter voice the other day, so I'll take that. Okay, I'm not going to bust it out now, of course. There's no context. You got to have context for your silly voices. How would I rank the Giants wide receivers? Differently. So if we're counting Waller as one of them, Waller to me, just the camp reports on him are so glowing that I now have to overlook the fact that he cost me so much fucking money last year. So he would be a guy. You know what? If Osborne's here too, I don't love making a bet against Justin Jefferson, but maybe this is a year where everybody brackets Justin Jefferson and KJ Osborne can go off. So I will take him as my sixth receiver. But Waller, I think overall for the Giants, he's the most likely to be the highest upside receiving player. So he would be the guy I'd prioritize the most, and the ADPs go that way anyway. Hyatt getting in with the first team is definitely a positive for him. I didn't see that one coming right away. Hyatt was so good in college, but it was in a gimmicky Tennessee offense. So that's something that you kind of have to slide him down a little bit. But my concern was just him getting in and being able to get on the field. So the fact that he's getting first team reps at all, I think is a positive for him. And I do think that matters a little bit more than Pete does. Like just being in with the first team is a sign of like how they're viewing you, how they're following you away. Especially if it's early in camp. Obviously at the end of camp, it's the most beneficial if you're running first team reps. But Hyatt to me is a guy that I think should probably be a little bit higher. And I like Slayton a lot. I think Slayton would be the guy that he probably gets hurt if Hyatt's involved just because of the deep targets going more Hyatt's way. So I think it would be Waller, Hyatt, Slayton for me. And I would put Hodgins behind those guys. I think Hodgins to me is like another journeyman vet kind of guy who doesn't have big money behind him. Slayton got paid more. Obviously, Hyatt has a higher draft capital. So I think Hodgins is the one guy who's kind of inappropriately priced just because people were like, ooh, he had some fun games last year. And he did have some fun games, but it's not the kind of player that I think teams build around long term just because of what's been invested there. Yeah, Slayton going at the end of drafts is a steal. I agree. Like he was one of the best outside receivers in the league. I'll pull up Slayton numbers here, but they really jump out. If you dig into the EPA numbers and all that, Slayton, 0.37 EPA per target, which would be in like Justin Jefferson range. 13% receiving DVOA, another good number. Not a terrible target per route run rate, but not killing it or anything. 17% target per route run rate. Where he really excelled was the deep targets, though, and that's sort of my concern. He had about one deep target a game, 50% catch rate. So that's the kind of thing that like a Hyatt could eat away at a little bit. But I think Hyatt's going to make enough mistakes that Slayton is still out there. So I would put Hyatt above because you should put the rookies above. But Slayton to me is like he and Terrace Marshall, as I've said a bunch of times, those two in the 18th round feel great. Like they are the wide receiver equivalent of taking a Musgrave or Mayer for me in terms of the late draft picks. Yeah, I'm not a Paris Campbell guy. I think Paris Campbell's the one who just a lot of, I think that's an error, I think is the Paris Campbell stuff personally. This is like, weird camp reports about him being a little more involved than I think he'll actually be in the season. All right, we got a 2-4-6-1. Definitely could use another running back. I'm going to go Jerome Ford here. So 2 drafts today for me with Jerome Ford, but that's fine. Player I have no issue with taking him 1 pick ahead of ADP. Just need another body in at running back because I feel pretty good about the team. I'll read it out loud. We got Mahomes and Cousins at QB, Aaron Jones, Rashad Penny, Zach Charbonnet, Jerick McKinnon, Jerome Ford at running back, receiver T. Higgins, Christian Watson, Jordan Addison, Treylon Burks, Sky Moore, and KJ Osborne, and a tight end, Travis Kelce. This is a different team that I normally would build for myself, but I do have target earners and guys who are leverage against other target earners who are going to be higher drafted. So I do like the mix for this team, even if it is a little bit out of my my usual comfort zone. If Slayton doesn't drop all those balls, he's a clear number 1 there. Yeah, I think that's a fair way to look at it. Certainly drop rate, not a great thing. No, it's not like Slayton's getting the best catchable ball rate either from Daniel Jones, but certainly something where, they paid him enough money. They're doing enough things for him that I would certainly expect him to be heavily involved either way. But we're on the clock. I I got nothing with Houston, Tennessee. Oh no, I have Treylon Burks. Okay, so Tyjae Spears does make some sense. We'll take Tyjae here. I would have considered taking a falling Jordan Love, but he ends up going a little bit ahead of where that would have been. So he goes at the turn here to Sam Duel, who takes Jaden Reed as well. And I would say for the Packers, I know people love Romeo Dobbs. I do think that Jordan Love with Christian Watson and Jaden Reed is my favorite Packers double stack to go to. Jaden Reed looking good so far at camp. Wasn't great in college, which kind of worries me always if the guys aren't outliers in college. Like, how likely are they to be an outlier against increased competition, increased athleticism, and all that stuff? That said, they're manufacturing touches for Jaden Reed. He's playing out of the slot. And again, getting Randall Cobb comparisons from other Packers. Like, that's a very nice thing to hear for Jaden Reed if you are looking for early signals for a rookie. Team is fire, Spags. I'm jealous. I appreciate it. I think this team has got some unique levers to it that I like. Obviously, getting Mahomes as a value is a nice thing. I worry that the running backs kind of got away from me. Didn't get some of my usual hits. Like, I would love to get a Javonte in this kind of build. Would love to get A-Chain, Kendre Miller, Elijah Mitchell in this kind of build. But I think that's part of what makes this build appealing to me, is that I did get a little bit outside the box for myself, and I did get some other running backs who were, I think, equally competent, but just in different ways, and certainly less comfy for me to pick, which is a big part of these streams. Me doing it 5 days a week here on Splash Play is that I do want to get outside my comfort zone a little bit with my picks. Shout out to all you guys hanging out with me here. Of course, if you are new around here or a regular and you're not subscribed, I think about 45% of the people that watch Splash Play videos don't subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe. We're trying to get to 3K subs on here. This is now my full-time work. The rest of this offseason is going to be here on Splash Play. 5 days a week of streams. Honestly, maybe more if I really get feeling myself. But please subscribe here down below. Hit the like button. Leave a comment if you have any questions. If you have any player takes you want to hear from me, even if you're trying to fade it, just feel free to drop it down in the comments below. I always reply to everything because I appreciate your time. There's a lot of best ball streams out there. I could feel it now that I'm committing myself to 5 days a week, but I will be here for you guys, and I will give you my takes always. And if they're right, then we will victory lap. And if they are wrong, I will go, well, that was, the data said something else. The data said this is going to be great. All right, we're on the clock here. 2661. And we got Mechie falling. Mechie it is. This is nice. This goes with our little Tennessee bet. We have Tyjae. We have Treylon Burks. We have Mechie, who is healthy, full go. 9 picks after ADP for no particular reason. One thing I will point out for the Texans. So this guy not working with the starters is working with the Davis Mills group in Houston. But Xavier Hutchinson has caught 2 50-yard passes in practice for Houston so far. So something to note for a guy that I think is kind of an interesting flyer. Probably more interesting in a 20-round draft. Maybe you take him on DraftKings sometimes, but Xavier Hutchinson is the only big-bodied, fast downfield guy that they have in that entire receiver room. So the fact he's already getting 50-yard bombs from anybody, I think, is kind of a positive for him. Though I do like Mechie a little bit more. What am I? Y'all are ridiculous. This guy is showing us his titties for what? I don't know what the reference is here, but it seems out of character for Bullock, so I'll read it out loud. Thanks. Spags got Spears and Ford. One of those guys will be taking over a few games due to injuries, probably. I hope so. I don't hope so. I don't hope for an injury, but I do hope that my guys get an opportunity to show the skills they have. That's how we're going to PR spin this one. We don't root for injuries here, but we are rooting for these guys to get a chance to flex out there. Interesting pocket of the draft here. Kenny McIntosh, Evan Hull. First time I've seen those guys drafted anywhere, but they are the contingent value in both their spots, Seattle and Indianapolis, respectively. But we are on the clock here. I do need a second tight end, and there's one that I'm hoping is still here. Yep, Luke Musgrave's still here. Sorry to Sam, who has the Jordan Love guy, the Jordan Love drafter, rather. But I like Luke Musgrave, and I will have him in a Minnesota stack. I'll tell you what. So the team right now here heading into the 18th, Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Jones, Rashad Penny, Charbonnet, Jerick McKinnon, Jerome Ford, Tyjae Spears, receiver Higgins, Watson, Addison, Burks, Moore, Osborne, Mechie, and a tight end, Kelsey and Musgrave. This is a solid team. The thing that I like the most about it is we are getting fairly direct leverage on Jamar Chase with Higgins, getting fairly direct leverage on Justin Jefferson with Osborne and Addison, and also, I guess, on Hawkinson a little bit there. So if this team can make it to week 17, and obviously that's the big part, that's the most difficult part of any best ball team, is actually surviving the war of attrition that gets you there. But if it can make it there, we now have levers against really highly owned guys. And that feels pretty good to me. I still would prefer to get Jefferson with Watson. Like that's my ideal week 17 pairing of a Minnesota Green Bay game, but got leverage against them. No Deneric Prince on DK. Like, he's not in the tournament? I actually didn't know if that's a thing. I'll find out, though. I actually think Thursday, for people who wanted me to do a DraftKings draft, I think I'm going to do one on Thursday. I think tomorrow, same thing as always here. I'll be going live again around 11:30. I'll try to, it's honestly it's going to be 11:30, and I'll probably have some overlap with Pete's doubleheader stream with Sean Siegel and Pat Crane tomorrow. But that's the goal here, is basically to go live at 11:30 every day for now, and we'll see how that timing works out. But on Thursday, strap in, because I do think that's going to be my first on-stream DK draft this offseason. So I'll pull up the shitty board. I'll get timed out on picks when it doesn't notify me correctly. It'll be a lot of fun for everybody, I'm sure. He's not in the player pool. The only Prince is Jerry Prince. They're Jerry with an I, too. Okay. Interesting name. Is Jerry Prince the world's first female football player as Jacksonville's 4th-string tight end? That's how much I wonder. How many BBM 4 drafts have I done? This will be my... This is my 105th right now. So it's tough for me because now I have to figure out how to save enough to do on stream, because I only want to stream the BBM drafts for the most part. So I need to make sure to save some here, but I'm probably doing one a night on my own-ish, maybe not every night, and I'll do the ones on stream, and that's going to be my output and should put me safely at 150, I hope. But I got to check the fill rate, though, because that is something that we need to be mindful of, both content creators as well as you guys out there. 52% fill rate right now. So we should be safe theoretically, but that can really ramp up in August, especially if they don't put out another puppy or anything to kind of divert people's attention. All right, we're on the clock. 2672. This feels like a pure luxury pick to me. Is there anything I can do to enhance these bets? KC, we got Justin Ross went, right? Richie James went. How about a Justin Watson share? Why not? You make the case, take a 7th running back, but I hate taking a 7th running back. I like to cap myself at 6. So we'll take Justin Watson, add him to the squad here. So we have Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins at QB, Jones, Penny, Charbonnet, McKinnon, Ford, Spears at running back, a receiver, Higgins, Watson, Addison, Burks, Sky Moore, KJ Osborne, John Mechie, and Justin Watson. So we're really fading Kadarius Toney and fading these other guys pretty heavily, but Watson doesn't get drafted, and he probably should. Travis Kelce, Musgrave at tight end. This is a unique Mahomes stack that we got at a value. I feel pretty good about this team, though. I guess the fact that I got Mahomes at such a value, I maybe could have gone with a chalkier Chiefs stack, and that would have been okay. But we didn't do that. We didn't do that. $3 million to Daddy Spags coming up. Thank you, Bullock. I can only hope. I think I'm due, personally. And also for the record, just so you guys, because you were hanging on here with me at the stream, the same giveaway that I was going to do last year when I was a BBM 3 finalist will apply this year. I'm going to fund 5 people, full BBM 5 entries. If I somehow win BBM, I will fund 5 people's BBM entries. If you're a subscriber of Splash Play, so it's not a full giveaway here, but I am going to tell you guys that is going to be a thing that is part of my plan for the year. And the draft is completed. So yeah, let's name it. I honestly don't think you guys need to see me name it, but I'll make you watch anyway. SP, KC, Mahomes, Val, and Min. Okay. Actually, Min Green Bay. There we go. That's it, guys. So again, we will be doing this again tomorrow here. I'm going to cut myself off after one draft, but I'll be back tomorrow again, 11:30 a.m. So right towards the tail end of Pete's doubleheader stream. Please come hang out with me then. I'll be doing this every day, 5 days a week. Not every day, every work day, 5 days a week. So follow me at Chris Spags, still tweeting out daily-ish fantasy football takes about my exposures. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod to know whenever we go live. But I appreciate all of you hanging out with me here, taking the leap after Pete's channel, of course, doing the Splash Play show on there. But come back tomorrow. Come hang out with me. I will be here for you guys, talking about training camp, obsessively reading articles, giving you the breaks, all that stuff that I could possibly do here. So come hang out. And of course, subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. All that stuff helps us grow the channel as much as it possibly can. And I'll be back with you guys tomorrow around the same time. So enjoy your days. And of course, good luck. Bye.